Hey everyone, Geophysicist Stefan Burns here. The only constant is change, and a lot is happening right now, not only here on our planet with us, society, the Earth, geophysics and more, but also with our sun, the solar system. We've been loaded with a bunch of energy as a result of solar maximum, a solar maximum stronger than solar cycle 24's maximum. We see that there is a correlation, a very strong correlation between what we could call spontaneous social processes, or basically like revolutions societally, with solar maximum periods. People just get energized and charged up by all this solar energy. And well, you have things like revolutions and riots and wars more common during solar maximum and in that period directly afterwards. That's occurring right now. Of course, a new war just broke out in the Middle East, no surprise. And with what's happening there, tremendous amount of energy is being released with all these missiles and bombs that are being dropped. And there are some planetary energies that are very, very, very strong that will be active for the next 4, 5, 6 years. Planetary alignments, planetary geometry, they don't necessarily control the nature of time. They're like a clock. They tell you what time it is. They tell you what the quality of the time is. And we have some very, very powerful ones. Specifically, the Neptune Pluto opening sextile has its final close engagement range starting in 2026, going to about 2032. Here we see our Neptune Pluto waxing sextile versus global nuclear test. Because what we have is Neptune and Pluto in a geometric alignment. I can show you that data really quick. Right here, we see Pluto and Neptune. They are 60 degrees apart right now. That's a sextile, 60 degrees, okay? Well, if we go back, we'll simply drag Neptune back to Pluto like this, okay? Here, we see when they were in conjunction. This was the very end of the 1800s. It was like 1892, 1893 that they were in conjunction, okay? Well, then Neptune being faster moved ahead. But at times, Pluto and Neptune move the same speed. They have an orbital resonance. So we start to get them entering into a sextile arrangement in the 40s, 50s, and going up to the 90s, because now Pluto and Neptune are kind of traveling the same speed here. And so as a result, they were in this opening sextile for a while. The first main configuration. I mean, you have smaller ones. You have like semi-squares and such, 45-degree angles. But in general, the first big configuration is this opening sextile. This is a 492-year-long cycle. It's one of the most foundational planetary resonance cycles that we have identified. Very, very important. Here we see this waxing sextile as demonstrated by degrees of separation between them for their entire phase. So this is 0 degrees, meaning that they are right next to each other. And then we have 10 degrees, and that's when they start to break out of orb, you could say. For these outer planets, Richard Tarnas, for example, uses a 15-degree orb, but for this data graphic here from Archetypal Explorer, we'll set it to 10, okay? So starting in the 40s, they started to get close together. Right around 1950, they are now in this configuration where they're very close together. You see right there only at maximum about 2 degrees apart, but really in that 0 to 1 degree range. And then they kind of dip down, oscillating year by year, going from 1.5 degrees separation to about 5 degrees of separation. But 5 degrees is very, very close for an outer planet configuration. Okay, so this is not insignificant. And they stay in this all the way through. Here we now have the end of the Cold War, effectively, right? The Cold War is defined by the proliferation of nuclear weapons and the testing of them. Here we see our nuclear tests that were done across time by different nation states. United States, Russia being the big ones. We also have France, China, so on. Look at this. Look at how right as we go into this Neptune-Pluto waxing sextile, which is a long duration, we had this huge burst of nuclear testing. Okay, and we looked at that actual energy release with our last graphic here, again, with the purple line. And one key thing to note with this data is that there's actually a lot of similarity between the energetic signature of an earthquake and of a nuclear bomb. They're very similar. They produce similar things, like in terms of Earth reactions, you could say. So when there's resonance, there's energy and information transfer. So when we were doing these nuclear tests, we were interacting with the Earth in ways that are beyond our current understanding. And I think that's still playing out. I don't think these nuclear tests did nothing. I think we're still dealing with the fallout. Millions of people died from that radiation fallout, right? Cancer, and some of them more direct from the actual shockwave blast, like millions and millions of people affected by this. This is still in effect. And we see that this waxing sextile now is ramping up because we kind of declined out of it. This whole nuclear thing in many ways quieted down, right? Here we see that our solar cycle in this time frame is also quite weak. Solar cycle 24. So we had low solar activity. We had this Neptune Pluto waxing sextile very low. We had very few planetary great conjunctions in 2010 to 2020. We had very few outer planet configurations, conjunctions at least, during that time frame. Now we're back in it, okay? We had a lot of outer planet conjunctions in 2020 going through 2025. We just had the Saturn-Neptune great conjunction February 20th of 2026, and we are now back in this. And notice that this goes to about 2033, 2034, okay? So that's 2026 right there, I believe. We're in this, baby. Like, that might be 2025. Regardless, we are back in this. And this is an opening sextile for a 492-year cycle, which gives you a sense of the scale and scope and the significance. And also we see the themes baked into the prior first act. This is the final third act, you could say. I guess this is act 1, act 2, but they kind of blend together, right? This is the final third act. There's probably going to be some sort of conclusion, initial conclusion to these themes here. So this is a huge choice point of what do we do? Because we have absolutely crazy things happening right now in the Middle East. Here we see an oil depot that was lit, it was bombed, now it's burning. This is, I think, fairly recent footage from yesterday, the 7th, up to maybe now, today. I mean, this is, you don't put out a fire like this all that quickly. The biggest oil depot outside of Tehran. So this is no small thing. And consider the environmental effect of that, right? All that smoke and soot and ash and everything gets mixed into the atmosphere of the Earth. We see weather on this planet becoming more and more volatile. We're having a warming trend globally overall that has been accelerating for the past 15, 20 years, quite significantly. And now we're going to be adding more energy in to this all from things like this. And global leaders are, I don't want to call them leaders, stupid, degenerates. Global degenerates are escalating this further and further. We saw how we responded back with this Neptune Pluto waxing sextile going from the 40s to the 90s, okay? We had World War II right here, millions dead, millions more killed in oppressive regimes during this time frame, massive nuclear tests, millions killed as a result of that, right? On the brink of nuclear annihilation for a long stretch of time. During this time frame, we got very, very close a few times, not only with the Cuban Missile Crisis, but they were even transporting nukes in planes, the United States, over the eastern seaboard. One of them dropped, like it fell out of the plane, and thankfully it did not explode when it impacted the ground. Like, what? It could have been an accidental nuclear bomb that went off. This is now the choice point. How do we respond, right? Because there's also tremendous exploration into human consciousness and new societal structures and movements of this nature, like massive environmental movements are taking place during this time frame. So a lot of amazing things happened during this time frame. So this is just one expression of the Neptune Pluto energy. There's also the other expression where we're learning how to be better shepherds of our planet. We have a choice to make right here collectively, and because we are one human organism, right, the energy and the frequency that we resonate is what makes up the unified collective human consciousness and that is also resonating for the entire planet. Gaia's super consciousness, all one organism at that scale, and then this is the consciousness of the universe. But the thing is, we are not simply just victims of fate. I do think fate exists to some degree, but we also are liberated with the ability to have free will and to make choices. So how we're going to choose to act during this next 5 years remains to be seen. I would like to see a better expression of this energy than what happened here, personally. History will be decided during this next 5 years. I mean, history is always being decided, but really, because Saturn-Neptune conjunction 2026, next big conjunction is 2032, Saturn and Uranus. Kind of be the end of this cycle that's being driven by Saturn, which is really important, which is where this aspect of fate comes in a little bit. And karma, and what are the rewards that we reap? What seeds are we sowing, and what's our harvest going to be? Saturn is the farmer archetypally, also the scientist in some aspects. So, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Are we going to play stupid games collectively and win stupid prizes? Or are we going to create a beautiful world? We can choose.